vitamin B2, that is riboflavin. What is the function in body? Riboflavin forms two very important intermediate nucleotides. One is FMN and second is FAD. FMN stands for flavin mononucleotide. The next water-soluble vitamin we will be discussing is vitamin B2, that is riboflavin. What is the function in body? Riboflavin forms two very important intermediate nucleotides. One is FMN and second is FAD. FMN stands for flavin mononucleotide and FAD stands for flavin adenine dinucleotide. They are involved in redox reactions, that is oxidation and reduction reactions in various types of intermediate metabolism. What are the sources of riboflavin? Riboflavin is present in all types of foods: liver, fish, milk, egg, green leafy vegetables, cereals and legumes. When you talk about green leafy vegetables, there is a very funny thing here. All the exotic green leafy vegetables which you go and when you order, which are added to high-end restaurants in pastas and salads, all the high-end products like asparagus, any other thing, green leafy vegetable coming to your mind which is so-called exotic, which is not made in our normal households? Zucchini. Then you have broccoli. All these green leafy vegetables are a very rich source of riboflavin. So the next time you will be ordering some exotic vegetables, think that you are having good amount of riboflavin. So, and the good thing is riboflavin is not destroyed by heat. So even if you bake them, even if you saute them, even if you cook them or you fry them, riboflavin is not going to get destroyed. Thiamine B1 is very heat sensitive, it gets destroyed. So riboflavin deficiency is relatively rare compared to those developing thiamine deficiency, which includes childhood as well. Then daily requirement is a bit on the higher side as compared to thiamine. It is 0.6 milligrams per 1000 kilocalories. So what are the features of riboflavin deficiency? The features are defined by Nelson as ariboflavinosis. And the characteristic hallmark which can be asked as a potential visual question is the one which I have shown you. Most of the children who have riboflavin deficiency, they will have 2 to 3 features. Majorly, they will have bilaterally symmetrical erythema and fissures appearing on the angles of the mouth. That is called as angular stomatitis and chelosis, also called as cheilitis. In addition, they will have a pink to red colored tongue. The tongue will be abnormally smooth and there will be loss of papillae on the tongue. So a smooth tongue will be seen. In almost 2/3 of these patients, you will also find that the eyes are having abnormality. There is abnormal corneal vascularization associated with conjunctivitis. So this is the entire spectrum of riboflavin deficiency that you need to remember. So to summarize, they have angular stomatitis and chelosis, which is seen in majority of these individuals. Very important. Then you have stomatitis, that is aphthous ulcers. There is a smooth tongue with loss of papillae. Seborrheic dermatitis around the nasolabial folds. This is important. In this area you will find this, and this area is the area where you will find seborrheic dermatitis rash appearing. And there will be corneal vascularization occurring at the limbus, which will lead to photophobia, watering, redness, pain, and later on in untreated severe cases you may develop interstitial keratitis. And anemia can also be seen. Anemia is usually of the normocytic, normochromic variety. Anemia is not mentioned in the Indian textbooks, but it is mentioned prominently in Nelson 21st edition. So this is what is written in Nelson. Then how do you make the diagnosis? The diagnosis is made mainly clinically, but there is a test which we can do, that is 24-hour urine riboflavin excretion. If the 24-hour urine excretion is less than 30 micrograms per day or it is less than 10% of the total intake, that is diagnostic. Spot random urine sample can be taken. If you do it and you calculate riboflavin and creatinine in that, you take the ratio of this. If urine riboflavin is less than 125 microgram per gram of creatinine in urine, that is also suggestive of riboflavin deficiency. And thirdly, this is important. There is increased erythrocyte glutathione reductase activity when you add FAD. If it rises by 20%, just like we were doing RBC transketolase activity, here we are doing EGR activity, erythrocyte glutathione reductase activity. Normally it is low in these patients. The moment you add FAD, if it rises by more than 20%, that is a clue that there is underlying riboflavin deficiency. There is a efficiency marker also that we can do. We call it as EGR activity coefficient. If it is low, more than 1.4, that is also indicative of riboflavin deficiency. Both of them are prominently mentioned again in Nelson 21st edition, and so they are important from super specialty point of view. They are not very prominently given in the Indian textbooks. For all practical purposes, if you go into an OPD based setting, it is mainly a clinical diagnosis. All these tests which we are doing, there is always a difference between what you do and what is ideal. For the treatment of riboflavin deficiency, the dose is 3 to 10 milligram daily, which is given for a period ranging from minimum 2 weeks, maximum you need is up to 6 weeks of this regime. So 3 to 10 milligrams per day, that is given orally. In case of suspected malabsorption, you can use around 2 milligram of riboflavin parenterally per day. So there are two important points to note, can be relevant for super specialty exam. First is that thiamine is destroyed by pasteurization while riboflavin is not. And secondly, riboflavin deficiency can occur in newborns who are undergoing phototherapy, because phototherapy can cause destruction or alteration in the structure of riboflavin. So potential MCQ point: which vitamin deficiency is acquired in newborns undergoing repeated or prolonged phototherapy for neonatal jaundice? The answer will be riboflavin deficiency. Potential MCQ. Please add it to your notes.